business. And so, all of these youngsters, Tota, would have been a product of that, because you and I are the same age.
Definitely, and speaking about that to that time, it was an awakening of Pan Africanism within the
Right.
Jamaican diaspora. You know what I mean? Because we all saw ourselves as Africans, you know, and going through this whole struggle 400 years, as Peter Touch talk about, many other people talk about it, but Peter definitely expounded on it many times. You know, what we saw in the 70s was culturally, we had a cultural awakening, and that is what propelled our music to the forefront because of our culture. What we were selling to the masses out there was our Jamaican culture,
I,
And if you look today, now everybody have dreadlocks. You know what I mean? Even though it's a more become more hairstyle to them, more because it's not the article thing that we think about it. And as far as we look at it, it's against the system. When you
I,
hear like that, is a rebellion against the system.
and that's why I want to draw you in again, Hassan, because Tyrone locks himself, right?
Yes, you did.
What was walk us through that, because I remember in those early years, chatting with you guys on a Harbor View, you were the center of the consciousness with that little youth group. I make no apologies, say it was you. Me couldn't
Right.
laugh because my old man that killed me, but the articleness is inside, right? Um,
Right.
and so, walk us through. Tyrone, we noticed him because he started wearing locks around that time.
Right, right. And as far as wearing the locks, all right, we were, like you said, conscious. We had this African awareness. As a matter of fact, the little group there that I had formed, Richard, that was the name of it, the African Awareness Club. But it was not a religious thing. It was that black, I should say, our African consciousness
Consciousness.
among us. And we knew the struggles. We want to make it known to the rest of us. There's a struggle that's going on. And we have to be aware of it, and we have to fight. That's the only way we're going to get out of it. Anyway, at that time, I wouldn't say it was rebellious. Some people did, but we decided to grow our hair. It was what we call a natural livity then, natural living.
Yeah,
That's what we
there
were.
you go.
What did you say, Tauta?
I said
Liberty.
that's a good way of describing it.
Oh,
Natural
oh,
liberty.
yes, it was natural liberty for us, you know. And but of course, society was hell bent against it because they were so engulfed into the colonial way of thinking. They couldn't see any one of their children doing that because they didn't raise any mad children. And if we do something like that, we are mad, we're gone crazy. And I did not find out, though, this is not really, this doesn't have anything to do with that. But I didn't find out that after a while, there were some people, those, what you call them, way up there in the socioeconomic realm. They did, oh gosh, they took some of their children to Bellevue just to get them out of it. They
Okay,
really,
if you locks him out. Well, you remember there are two songs that spoke to the period, and Curly Locks was one with Junior Biles, and of
right?
course
Yes.
Marley Natty Dread, which was kind of a when Rasta, for all of the fight over the years, no matter how you fight this thing, it is there. And that consciousness, the music was a massive part of it. Mikey, I know you was a soul boy at them time then, so you can't.
Yeah. Yeah, I think all of us from the era have a tendency to kind of oversimplify the era. Musically, remember we were products of. I mean, we were subject to the radio stations, you know.
Right.
Our radio stations for most of us was where we got the cues from. There was radio stations that sent us to the record shops. The Motown, the soul thing in America was very attractive to most of us as young people because it was flashy, it was on camera, it was in movies and things. And the music of the period spoke to a lot of us. In other words, we grew up in that, between Motown and Stax and things. We kind of grew up with Temptations and then, so in other words, it grabbed us. Then there was also the Jamaican side of music. Now that was the party music that most of us were going to. We were intrigued. I was intrigued by Rastafari and thing but not as something that I even thought of going into. But here was just what I'm a brave me, man. In other words, you know all of the things that are gonna befall you when you start to relax. But just so there was this attractiveness. But every now and then there was, we were Jamaica is a top 40 audience, you know. So whatever the radio station decide to big up and boss is what gonna affect most of us. I mean, albeit the sound system had its set of people. But for the most of us teenagers, I grew up in Vineyard Town, and we were, between Plus X and all of the sounds in Vineyard Town.
So Melo Canary, the whole of them.
In other words, we took our cue from, parties was our outlet. Afro was the thing that we were into because that is what it, was reflected.
Well, Mikey.
Yeah.
Let me give you a scenario here.
No, hold on. Just before you say so, what I want you, and I thought about it last night. What it must have meant to a youngster like yourself and Tyrone, in the regular presence of a Peter Tosh and a Bob Marley, who were living this philosophy. In other words, the rest of us saw it from a distance, and we experienced Bob Marley and Peter Tosh from a distance. But you can imagine you being a part of that thing on a day-to-day basis, seeing some man walking the walk and talking the talk. I can imagine, in other words, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that you took it so seriously. And then the other thing is that you were educated. That's another thing that we have. Most of us on the panel right now, we are educated people. So we were able to read and we saw things and we were listening. I was listening to Rastafari for a philosophy that I could apply practicality to.
To liberty, yeah.
I wanted that philosophy, theological philosophy coming from Rastafari. It wasn't coming because everybody was talking something totally different, and when you ask questions, you hear by fireborn. So in other words, and up to today, I'm waiting for that theology that said, here is that. But there was difference between whether they should read the Bible or whether Jesus was part of the thing. So in other words, but the militancy attracted us. And then the whole, with militancy came a whole way of dressing, a whole way of walking, a whole way of profiling. And it was very, very attractive. Very, very attractive.
Well, what I'm trying to say with that now, I'm going forward to 1972.
Yeah, man.
When in the election in Jamaica in 1972, when Michael Manley came into power, Michael did away with certain things. There was no more bastard children, one. And then not only that, but the IMF came down on Jamaica like a ton of bricks, and kill, cramp, and paralyze our economy. Now, in doing that from a cultural standpoint, what they did, we never had no more money to import the foreign artists. Remember, we used to import all our artists used to come from America and do shows in Jamaica.
Keyboards on the Hail Him, His Imperial Majesty Burning Spear album, and also on Rita Marley's Who Feels It Knows It, keyboards and synthesizer, Tyrone Downie.
Yes, gentlemen. So we the contribution, seminar significant. I'm on raise a question on my Facebook post this morning. I asked who better. And, Jamaicans, we love this comparison business. Jackie or Tyrone, and Jackie me too, in my opinion, is in a league of his own, right? But
I agree.
Yeah, a
And
league
not
of his
only
own.
that, not only that, it's two different
Era of
styles
music.
of playing. Yeah.
But you know, Tyrone Downie's work is without question. I mean, it anchored and yourself. You know, because yes, we're honoring Tyrone, but you know, in the same breath, we are drawing into you, Tota, because you guys were, as Mikey made a point at the beginning of the show. You listened to, you know, the instrument, and you know the keyboard player is there, and in the early days or back in the day, you only see the keyboard player as part of the band. Yeah, but you know, Tyrone took this thing to another level, where his own animation, you know, and that's what you guys brought to the thing. So you kind of gave life to each instrument player, as far as you know the contribution to the music is concerned. I don't know. Maybe you guys
Yeah.
better expand on that.
Yeah. I know Toton again want to blow them out now, but let me tell you something. I heard God mentioning and Tyrone Downie on the keyboard. But between me and you, I'm sure it was much more than that. A lot of times in most of these sessions, the keyboard player determines so many things about the session. The things played in. Him is the one who get bored easiest. So I want that like a bridge that carry the song to another level in the construction. But the whole musical flow a lot of times in the whole thing have so much to do with the presence of these great musicians. The musicians have among ourselves conspired to raise to point the finger at the singer. And the music industry is based around the song, you know, the final product, the thing
Yeah,
that's
that's
played.
true.
So all of us now at different stages of our life almost signed this unwritten agreement that listen, we're not going to talk about ourselves and we're not going to big up ourselves. Everything is about to bring this other person,
About the artists.
artist, because the artist is the person whom you hit your wagon and who is going to
Focal point.
work and who is going to
Focal point.
because that's the situation. So thank God for programs like this now. And the next program we should be having is one talking about Tota because I know nothing about Tota. It's the first conversation I'm having with Tota, unfortunately. But
We
thousands
listen.
of the world go unnoticed too much. And you know, you shouldn't wait till them time they are part of the conversation to be honoring them. You understand what I say?
Well,
So
Tota, since we're here, Mikey, let me get a commitment from him right away because you know.
Yeah, well, hear me now.
Draw
Hear
him
me now.
out.
One of the things,
Tota,
One
the
of the thing-
next
one of the thing
show.
a man don't
Hold
say.
on, Tota.
One
Wait,
thing
no,
a man
man.
don't say.
Hold on, man. Mikey just made a point, and I'm taking him up on the point. We don't want to wait. You are here. We wanna book some.
Give him
studio
his
time.
roses now.
yeah, man.
Yeah, and we want to bring you on the next show because we want to talk about you, Tota, and your
Journey.
career,
Your journey.
your journey, right? And that's
Yes,
next
yes.
week Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, you can fill in a lot of gaps for a lot of us because, like I say, even me in the industry all these years, sometimes you even you're in an audience and you forget one stage and you forget who made a vital contribution and the transitions and you're able to fill in with two sentences a significant part of Tyrone's history for me. Which I'll be forever grateful to you. But I can imagine how much other things you can fill in about Jacob Miller. Roger, I had a conversation with Roger.
Mikey, we're gonna save that for the next
Yeah,
show.
man.
Save that for next week.
We're
But
gonna
hear
save
me,
that for
hear
the
me
next
right
show.
now.
Right. Yes.
Talking about Tyrone's
Tyrone.
contribution. Talking about Tyrone's contribution. One of the things that Tyrone and I spoke about recently is the way we got handled as young men in the business, and we contributed quite a bit to the Wailers organization. You know, for example, a lot of people may not know that the song "Jamming" was actually a Tyrone penned song. You know, so these are things, and yet still you don't see Tyrone's name on the song. the song Rat Race, and this is the first time I'm going public with this. I've never said this publicly before. That song belongs to me. The name of the song says Rita Marley. Rita Marley was not in the studio when that song was written. So these are some of the things
Shots
that
fired.
I would like people to know, that we contributed in writing, not just in the production, but in actually writing some of the songs. And we got no
Recognition,
No,
not even
recognition.
my
recognition.
father would have said no recompense, which is a
Because
combination
no,
about,
nothing.
No.
yeah.
We got no recognition. Tyrone said to me recently, the first time I saw a royalty check was from the Melody Makers album. He never saw a royalty check from any of his contribution with Bob Marley.
But
Neither did I.
something that I wasn't even going to mention that, but it really, really hurt him. And for years, there were certain things that he could not do because of that.
Me
It's,
too.
I mean, he could play certain songs, he could sing certain songs, but the feeling that he had before wasn't there, because this is what I got from him, right? And I could see it until we used to talk so much it wasn't funny, because when I was looking after my father when he was ill, every single day Tyrone would call me. When I was looking after my mother, he would call me like every other day. All right, no, even those things, he would be such a huge load of encouragement, and he would talk so much good things about people. But he said to me one day, when it comes to, I hope I'm not going too far saying this, but he said, when it comes to doing business with the Marleys, who I really love to do business with, Ziggy. Ziggy would call and say, Uncle Tyrone, I need you to do this. Excuse me. And they would talk about it. If the thing going to cost $100, if he was going to say $100 was your pay, he would say, all right. He got him his way. He came here and he would give him $50. He would put him up in a hotel. He had him met him, or he would meet him himself at the airport. He did everything. And then he put him up where he was staying. And when everything was done, he gave him the balance, the other $50. And there was no kind of ill feeling. Excuse me. My allergies coming on. No kind of ill feeling with him and Ziggy.
It's the first time I actually bring it up publicly, because I've never spoken about this publicly before. I mentioned it to certain people and certain individuals. I remember one scenario. We were in Brazil with the Melody Makers many years ago in the early 90s. And I was saying to China, I said, China, everybody was suing the Marley estate. And I said to China, you know the truth about this, because you and I were the ones who came up with this idea. And, what should we do? And I never forgot, China said to me, he says, do you have food on your table? You have a roof over your head? Your kids have food and can go to school? I said, yeah, all right, what are you complaining about? And I said, okay, I respect that. Later on, I think the following day, Ziggy came to me and says, yes, I know father owe you some things, but you have to join the line like everybody else. Those were his words. You have to join the line like everybody else.
Yes,
and
Lord.
I said
Yes.
to myself, at least just that acknowledgement meant a lot to me. Just the fact that Ziggy acknowledged that, I said, boy, yeah. Because up until that point, I was very ticked off with the organization. I'm not going to lie to you. I was ticked off with the organization. And, I feel Tyrone feel the same way, because he expressed it to me, and he knows what we all went through.
Wow. There's a whole lot that goes on in the industry behind the scenes, and sometimes we hesitate for different reasons. You don't want to put things out there, but this is the story of the music, and the good and the bad. We really need to ventilate them because it is part of the foundation of the thing. One question that a thought that I have, and Mikey, I will throw this at you because the music came out of a period where there's no structure, so to speak. Today, a lot has changed. I think Tota, as you said, Ziggy made that recognition that some things owed to you guys, and you have to form a line. So it is the future catching up with the present. So as Ziggy represents where the music is today, understanding that artists need to be compensated for them talent and effort, etc., etc. Whereas in the period before that, most of you guys as artists weren't even looking in that direction. Mikey?
Oh, you're right. The education, the music, different than the music business, you know what I mean? And as educated as some of us were, when we went into the music industry, we were so excited about just creating that the whole question of the other side of it, did not occur to you. I mean, Jeffrey Chung is the one who mentioned publishing to me. And it never even made a sense. So you just, okay, somebody offering you $10 for something that normally you don't get. You didn't read a blueprint, you just sign something. So, and I'm sure it has taken place. But there's a sin of omission and there's a sin of commission. And
Right.
both of them are almost equal. What I'd love to see before I die is a lot of the sins of omission.
Be
Be
corrected.
regular. In other words,
Right.
someone like how Ziggy said, boy, some never know. And I believe some of them never know. But there are some who knew. So even the Marlies don't figure that they were themselves not robbed. They were robbed as well. So I mean, let's not even get it stupid. The question of that whole who make the most from music is one of the game haunt us for the rest of our life. Hope thankfully the kids of the Totas and the Tyrone and myself can pick it up. I talked to one of my youngsters and what I'm talking about now, I never even thought about. So luckily we have educated them and them can come and look at the music industry and see income streams that we never thought of. And it is never too late, like I say, for sure, Ian. So hopefully one of these days when the stories come out and people the right people in the right places, we can fix up some of these old time things. But it's one of the evolutions of the music industry, evolutions of the whole business of music, and the whole question of fairness, omission and commission.
Tota?
Well, I agree with him, I agree with him, but there's rules and regulations in place that take care of certain things, but individuals themselves have to go there and seek these organizations and rules. In a situation like with Marley thing, I don't know how that can ever be. It seemed like that is in stone already, so it's kind of hard to go back on that. But as I say, for me personally, just the mere fact that the son of Marley himself recognized the fact, it changed my whole attitude, so I can only speak for me personally. But
as it should. As it should. And as Haya said, clearly Tyrone in his own, in his time, had his own misgivings as well. And clearly we live in an environment now, an era now where you just touch on it, Mikey. There's so many ways, so many angles or avenues through which you monetize music, and artists who who contributed. There is opportunities there for them. In fact, the current deal.
Also, the fact that one of the things about credit is not even the amount of money, is the fact that your next big job might be determined by the fact that somebody knew that you are the one who did that. I mean,
that's true, very true.
For the total now, the fact that the world all of a sudden know that you were the one who did that. Right away, you're on a short list for another job. Most of the jobs that I've gotten have been because of somebody coming out and bigging up a thing or bringing up a song and thing. And then you hear your phone ring and man say, boy, the man was you right that, I want a song for so-and-so, or I want a production like so-and-so. So the credit that we really want is as much for the cash as it is for your legacy there. And like I said, with the legacy, the beauty about legacy is that generation down the road can build on it, can collect from it. And the Pouter in the state now as a statesman of the industry can call some shots and say, listen, yeah, you might get a call next week to do a big job because people know now. So
that you did that right.
Question that we make people know, and we must make every opportunity, like I said, every opportunity we get to hear these things and make it known to listen. Yeah, man. As much as you love that, I had a significant role to play, and so.
Yeah.
And in his own little way, Tyrone was starting to come out now to show that he actually did some writing. The other day, he went on Facebook, and I don't remember which song it is right now, but he put Bob, and he put the line that Bob wrote, and then he put me. Either me or Tyrone, whatever it was, I don't remember right now. And he put the line.
I think I remember seeing it.
You remember seeing? Okay, so he had kind of started because he felt more at ease now to do things like that.
That was cathartic for him.
Say again?
Cathartic.
That was cathartic for him.
Yeah,
it was cleansing.
Yes.
Well, he said the Carteret College had show up some big $500 word of poet to write it, boy. I better tell you.
Please.
But it looks this. Listen, this is a topic that is inexhaustible, if you will. If there, I borrow a big word from God, but it's a major part of the what we recognize as the ills within the industry, and it's something hopefully we find a way to correct it over time. But I think in order to correct, we need to first of all recognize that the problem existed. I would love to see that article higher with that Tyrone was penciling in the contributors to particular songs. To take, because it's a big part of how we establish the history of our music.
And the unwritten.
Right, because a lot of, again, there's just so many people out there. I mean, I know about Tota because we follow the music, but how many other people out there who know who Tota, who Tota was,
and
right?
Richard, the basis of his name, we should really know.
Yeah, but
funny enough, you want to know something? You want to know, is Tyrone gave me the name Tota.
Yeah, tell me about that. Where it come from?
Tyrone gave me the name Tota. When we first met, Tyrone said he came to check me out because as his replacement, he's checking me out.
Yeah.
So everybody was calling me Organ D also, And he says, no, there can't be two Organ Ds. I'm Organ D. You are Tota. Just like that, and it stuck.
Well, it really stayed. Guys, listen, this is really refreshing to be able to do this. I mean, to pay tribute to a man who has given so much, and at least to humanize his contribution as well. And I think Hyacinth, nobody does that better than yourself, Tota, your relationship with Tyrone as well. So really allowed us to seriously pay the kind of tribute that we need to do that for more of our people who have contributed.
Hi there. If you enjoyed that clip, go on over to our website at yardmedia.com, where you can watch the entire broadcast at your leisure. And while you're there, why don't you check out our other reggae music features? And before you leave, pick up some of our Jamaican reggae merchandise, and hey, don't forget to tell your friends.